Have you ever started a new habit just full of excitement, only to watch it completely fizzle out a few weeks later? If so, you're so not alone. It's one of the most common things we all go through. But what if the reason our habits don't stick has less to do with our motivation and everything to do with our method? That's exactly what we're going to get into.
Man, this quote from a Reddit user, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? That slow fade of motivation. We have all been there. You start out strong, you're determined to exercise, eat healthier, whatever it is. But over time, that willpower just runs out. It feels like you're pushing a giant boulder uphill, and eventually, you just get tired. So what if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if the problem isn't some kind of personal failing, but just a flawed approach? The habit expert James Clear says it perfectly. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So let's really dig into what that actually means.
Okay, so first things first, we've got to talk about the biggest roadblock, the all-or-nothing trap. This is a cognitive distortion, which is just a fancy way of saying it's a thought pattern that tricks you. It basically means you see things in black and white. You're either a complete success or a total failure. There's no in between, no room for good enough.
And you see this trap pop up everywhere in our lives. With exercise, it's that thought, well, if I can't do my full hour-long workout, I might as well not go at all. Or with food, it's, I already ate one cookie, so my diet is ruined for the day. Guess I'll eat the whole sleeve. Sound familiar? I bet it does. This mindset just sets us up for failure before we even really start. So how do we get out of this trap? Well, the way out is this really profound shift in how you think about it. Instead of obsessing over the outcomes like losing 20 pounds, we need to focus on our identity. The really crucial question to ask yourself is not, what do I want to achieve, but who do I wish to become?
And this quote, again, really gets to the heart of it all. See, goals are just temporary targets. A system, on the other hand, is the process that gets you results over and over again. A goal-focused person might say, my goal is to write a book. But a system-focused person says, I am a writer, and writers write every day. You see the shift there. One is a one-time event, the other is a core part of who you are.
You know, James Clear has this great way of visualizing it, kind of like an onion with 3 layers. That outer layer is your outcomes, the results you get. The middle layer is your process. That's your habits and your systems. But the deepest, most powerful layer is your identity, what you believe about yourself. And real, lasting change, it starts from the inside and works its way out.
And this is where it all starts to click. Your identity isn't some fixed thing you're born with. No, it's built, one moment at a time, by your actions. Every time you choose to go for a 5-minute walk, you're casting a vote that says, I am an active person. Every time you write just one paragraph, you're casting a vote for I am a writer. It's these tiny wins, these little votes, that become the proof you need to build that new identity.
Okay, so we get the mindset shift. It's about identity, not just goals. But okay, how do we actually build that system? How do we make sure we're casting those votes day after day? Well, that brings us to the 4 laws of behavior change, a super simple, practical framework for making good habits almost automatic.
So, psychologists have this model, and it basically says that changing your behavior happens in 2 main stages. First, you have the motivation phase. That's where you decide you want to change. But that's not enough, is it? You have to cross this bridge into the action phase, where you actually plan it out and do the thing. The 4 laws we're about to cover, they are that bridge. They get you from just wanting it to actually doing it.
All right, so here they are, the 4 laws that make up the system. To build a good habit, you need to make the cue obvious. Then you make the craving attractive. Then you make the action itself as easy as possible. And finally, you make the reward satisfying. And if you want to break a bad habit, you just flip it. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. It's so simple, but wow, is it effective.
You know, the easiest way to put these laws into practice isn't about having more willpower. It's about something called choice architecture. It just means you consciously design your environment to make good habits the path of least resistance. It means putting your running shoes right by the door. It means laying out your vitamins right next to your coffee maker. You're literally redesigning your world to help you win.
This whole idea comes from behavioral economics, which is super fascinating. It just recognizes that, hey, we're human, and we don't always act perfectly rational. We get influenced by our surroundings. So the goal is to set up your environment so that the best decision is also the easiest one to make. You want to eat more fruit? Put it in a big bowl on the counter. Don't hide it in a drawer. Want to watch less TV? Try taking the batteries out of the remote and putting it in another room. You're just giving your future self a helpful little nudge.
Okay, and if you need proof of how powerful this is, check this out. In countries where you have to actively opt in to be an organ donor, the donation rates are super low. But in countries where the default is that you are a donor unless you go out of your way to opt out, the rates just skyrocket to nearly 99%. Think about that. The choice is identical, but changing that one little default, it changes everything.
So this brings us full circle. We've figured out our identity, we've designed our environment. But what happens when we mess up? Because we will. This is where we finally defeat that all-or-nothing trap by embracing imperfect consistency. The goal isn't perfection. It's just about getting back on the horse as quickly as possible.
And if you don't believe me, let's just look at the math for a second. It might not feel like you're doing much by getting just 1% better each day. But those tiny gains, they compound. Over a year, that small daily effort makes you 37 times better. It's the small, consistent votes that lead to that landslide victory in the end.
And this brings us to what might be the most important piece of this entire puzzle: self-compassion. The system works, but we're human. Missing one day doesn't make you a failure. It just makes you normal. The real secret to lasting change isn't about never messing up. It's about how quickly and kindly you pick yourself back up, knowing that, hey, there's always tomorrow.
So let's bring this all home. I'll leave you with one final question. Forget about the huge goals, the big gestures. Just for today, what's one small, tiny thing you can do? What's one single vote you can cast right now for the person you want to become? Because that single, tiny action, that is where everything begins.